they're done. They're done. They should be. I would love to see them. I would love to see the characters and how it came out and see the movies. It was a lot of fun doing them.
Mexican actor Jorge Rivero was, for a good long while, the biggest male movie star in the cinema of his home country. And so naturally, Hollywood tried him out in films like Rio Lobo and Soldier Blue, two 1970s westerns which, by the way, couldn't be more opposite on the revisionism spectrum. And then in the VHS days, he was rechristened Jorge Rivero, and he was reinvented as an international action star. But back in the 1970s, he was also given a shot in Italian cinema. Just how much Italian work he did, though, that's a matter of some mystery. I first interviewed Jorge by phone, a career interview for a film magazine, and he revealed a surprising fact that I had never seen reported anywhere.
When we spoke on the phone before, you mentioned, I thought I heard you say you made a Sartana film, is that right?
I made 3 Sartana films.
Are we talking about the spaghetti western character?
Spaghetti westerns, exactly.
Yeah, Jorge told me he had made 3, not 1, but 3 spaghetti westerns for the Italians that had mysteriously gone missing after they were completed. According to him, he had unofficially starred as Sartana in a lost trilogy. Now, Sartana is an Italian Western character so popular that 5 official Sartana films were made, along with approximately 20 unofficial films that either use the character or the character name. So shortly thereafter, when colleague Michael Martinez was interviewing Jorge on camera for another project, I wrote up some more questions about this missing Sartana trilogy, and I got Michael to slip those questions in for me as long as he was rolling with Jorge. After the interview was over, Jorge emailed me a pic of this framed photo that sits in his house, which he says is one of the few pieces of proof he has that the 3 movies were ever even made.
It's right there. I was playing Sartana, so I couldn't be better. Because it was a series, and I worked a lot in the movies, and it was a great character. This was in the 70s. Sartana, La Volta di Sartana, e La Morte di Sartana. In other words, Sartana, the return of Sartana, and the death of Sartana. Back to back to back. And they told me, Jorge, this is the deal. Back to back to back. I said, fine. As a matter of fact, it was like a 4-month thing. In Almeria. Yes, everything in Almeria. And let me tell you, it just looked like a Western town. It looked like we were in Arizona or someplace like that. Amazing. The town, the whole thing, the people, the way the cowboys were. Some of them looked too Italian. But it was okay.
So it was shot in the southern Spanish desert in the town of Almeria, as was typical for spaghetti westerns. And although it didn't come up in the on-camera interview, in my earlier phone interview, Jorge explained more about the international nature of these productions.
It was a co-production between Mario Siciliano and Mexico and Venezuela, I think it was.
So that was Italy, Mexico, and Venezuela?
Yes, I think part of the money was coming from Italy and Venezuela, and they were shot in Almeria, and we had to go to Mexico to do the dubbing because it was the part of the co-production. You must have and use the Mexican facilities.
Got it, okay.
We used all the lab and Almeria and everything. It was done in part in Spain, and part in Italy, and part in
Venezuela?
And no, Venezuela was the money coming from, and it was done part in Mexico.
The name Mario Siciliano is in reference to the Italian film director-producer who owned his own production company, Metheus Film. He was also sometimes credited by the pseudonym Marlon Circo. Jorge says it was Mario who directed the 3 Sartana films, so they were presumably produced, at least in part, by Mario's company, Metheus. After the films disappeared, Jorge tried reaching out to the company.
I went back to Mexico at the time, and I didn't hear any more about it. I thought that probably they would release it in Europe first. And once it was released and exploded in Europe, it will come to America. I was expecting, you know, like always they send you the tape. I heard he got sick or something, Mario Siciliano. I tried to connect myself, I couldn't connect myself, the connections to talk to Italy, it was not so easy. And then I couldn't get anybody in the company of Mario Siciliano. I started getting tired. I spent a lot of money. At the time, it was very expensive to call Italy. So I said, geez, I don't know, maybe they'll call me. And time passed by, I got all the jobs, and I started working, and I started forgetting about it.
Jorge appeared in some later Italian-Mexican co-productions for other directors, like Manaus in 1979, Priest of Love in 1981, and Conquest in 1983. And then director-producer Mario Siciliano died in 1987, so the hopes for getting copies of these unreleased movies seemed finally to be over. But then, years later, Jorge realized that an old co-star of his from the films Conquest and Priest of Love had gone on to switch from acting to becoming a powerful and celebrated producer and distributor in the Italian film industry. And Jorge realized that this former co-star came to America on business every year.
Andrea Oghipinti. He became one of the main guys in Italy right now of selling movies. He was very much involved with Italian movies. But I heard he was here, he was at the film market and all that.
And I saw him here, and I said, hey, listen, I've been trying to get these movies. How is it possible? He said, I'll call you and I'll try to find out. Anyway, he called me. He said, listen, this guy died, and his company owed money or something, and so there's a problem with the movies. So I said, can you get him for me? And he said, I'll try, and he hasn't called me.
In a Part 2 follow-up to this video, I'll tell you the very intriguing bit of evidence I discovered during my research. And we'll also take a look at some possibilities. What happened here? Where could these films have gone? And what might Jorge be remembering correctly? And what might he be remembering incorrectly?